And I was right. And the market was green, so it held. So I sold that for a win. So regardless of why I was right or wrong or what the market did, you take an L as an L and a W as a W. Yeah, let's talk earnings. Let's talk earnings. So I'm doing a challenge for those of you guys that are just rolling in today out of bed. I am doing a new challenge to keep the content fresh around here. And I am going to be taking $5,000 and I'm going to pick one earnings every single day after hours before market that I have to hold through. And then the next day I have to sell it and buy into something else. Doesn't matter when throughout the day, but it's got to be bought before end of day market. And I'm going to do this until 50% up or 50% down. And I can only choose one position. And obviously I can't short the position. It's got to be no options, just holding through. It's completely a gamble. It's only for fun. Okay, please understand that. Do not follow me into this. All right. So, for those that have missed the beginning part of the week or weren't here on the weekend this past weekend, I decided to do an earnings challenge. Now, what did I mean by an earnings challenge? My challenge was to pick one company out of the earnings whispers calendar. There's many companies that have earnings every day, but pick one every day that I don't currently already own, that I have to choose to buy before close that day and hold until after open the next day, regardless of how they do after hours, okay? These rules were stupid, but it was to make it more content. Now, back in time on Monday, I broke down 5 of them. Roblox, WYNN, SPG, Palantir, and JMIA. Palantir I could not take because I already owned it. Roblox I didn't take because I just don't know enough about that company. NVAX I didn't take because I figured they would fall. JMIA I didn't take because their valuation was shit. So that left me SPG and WYNN. The joke was I'd take WYNN because their name is WYNN and they'd have to win. But I didn't. I took SPG. SPG beat. But they softened their guidance a little bit. They still were doing okay. But Monday was the beginning of the end of the week. And I took an L on SPG. Got out at a minimal loss. WYNN ended up doing very well. So missed the ball on that one. Tuesday was more interesting. I wanted to take Fubo more than anything, but I couldn't because I already had 800 shares or whatever. So I had to decide between Lemonade, EA, Wix, Wendy's, and Mastercraft Boat Holdings. Now, the one I wanted to take was Mastercraft Boat Holdings. But I didn't for 2 reasons. 1, they don't have a lot of volume and a lot of movement. And 2, I was a little concerned. And I pulled the plug on Mastercraft at the last moment because I was a little concerned about the cost of materials driving them up and hurting their guidance. So I took them out of there. I took Lemonade out because I figured Lemonade was going to fall out of the sky simply because of the same reason that we thought Rocket was going to fall out of the sky. And we were right about that. And Lemonade fell out of the sky. Because I can't play options or do short for this challenge, that left me with EA, which I figured would fall potentially. Even though I was bullish on them because of games and what Activision did, I was a little bit concerned about their past earnings and how they've missed significantly. So I figured, you know what? Too volatile, I won't take it. That leaves me Wendy's and Wix. I liked Wendy's. The problem with Wendy's is I didn't know what their breakfast numbers were going to be like coming out. And, it was a tough one. So I went with Wix, and that was a bad choice for 2 reasons. Number 1, even though Wix beat all across the board, investors still feel like with COVID coming to an end that we're going to see less traffic on Wix. And more importantly, the market died that day. Okay? The market actually died that day. I mean, it opened up. We were down 2% at one point. So, if I would have been able to sell after hours, I actually would have been able to sell it for $300 after the earnings came out because it actually popped on the earnings. But had to hold to the next day because of my dumb rules. So I ended up taking a massive loss on it. Normally, I probably would have only lost 3 or 4%, but the market itself actually was down 2%. So I ended up taking a 15 or 16% loss on those shares. Mastercraft, on the other hand, the original one that I wanted to take, absolutely crushed it and did very, very well. They're still doing really well there. So then came Wednesday. Wednesday, I gave myself Tattooed Chef, Wish, Jack in the Box, XPEV, YETI, Alibaba. Alibaba I couldn't take because I already owned the shares. So that left me Wish. I was curious about Wish, but then we looked at their valuation and the EPS, and they actually raised their EPS to a much smaller loss expectation than before, and we laughed and said there's no way they beat those expectations, and they didn't. They fell out of the sky. So, but can't take options. So that left Jack in the Box, XPEV, and YETI. My first choice from the entire thing was YETI. I love YETI. I love Camping World. I love YETI. I really wanted to take YETI, but I didn't, simply because their price was so high that I was a little bit concerned that there would be some profit taking. So I didn't take my first choice, leaving me XPEV and Jack in the Box. I took XPEV. XPEV did their earnings, and they crushed it. Insane. Revenue insane. Deliverables up 450% year over year. I mean, it was insane. Actually did well. But two things went against me. One, another market die day. And two, XPEV decided to add into their earnings call a little fun fact that they believe that there's going to be a secondary or a large continuation of chip shortages. And with electric vehicles, that's everything right now. So they absolutely died. So I took an L. So that means I was right about one, wrong about one, and one was a 50-50. But the market itself was just shit this week, so it didn't matter. I took L, so guess what? Doesn't matter. It counts as a loss regardless. That left yesterday into this morning. I had nothing to take. I could not take Walt Disney Company because I already own shares. That left me DoorDash, Blink, Airbnb. The rest of them I didn't know enough about. I didn't take DoorDash simply because my concern is with the competition they've recently had has really screwed them over as far as market share, and with the recent news about the U.S. government, especially the U.S. government, the labor secretary coming out and saying that they want gig workers to have to be considered employees. That hurts a lot. We saw Uber and Lyft all take big dumps, and DoorDash as well, because that obviously cuts into their revenue, because they, whether you think it's predatory or not, they make a lot of money by having their employees as gig workers and not as employees. So I decided that made the forecast and guidance, in my opinion, probably a little too volatile, a little bit too sketchy if they announced it, which they ended up not doing. They ended up killing it. Then there was Blink. Blink is in that spec stock. I don't know where the bottom is on Blink yet. So that left me Aurora Cannabis, that left me Airbnb. And I thought to myself, well, Airbnb, I'm long-term believer on Airbnb, even though I think the price is a bit high right now. But the thing about Airbnb is that everybody's anticipating returns to the real world again. And Airbnb is going to have a ton of bookings. And it's still fresh. It's still new. People are looking for an upside. Nobody knows exactly where the resistance support is. It's too new from the IPO. But I played it off of the reopen. And I was right. And the market was green, so it held. So I sold that for a win. So regardless of why I was right or wrong or what the market did, you take an L as an L and a W as a W. So I went 1 for 3 this first week. Now I'm hoping that next week, due to hopefully the market isn't as bloody and I can up that percentage. As far as calling the actual beats, we went 3 for 4, 75% in correct beats. But like I said, it doesn't matter. It matters where you sell it. That's what it matters. And I can only hold one day because I have to buy the next. So that is how it goes. Okay. With that being said, I still have to choose one for Monday. Do you really need the post hours owning the stock rules? I think it makes it more fun. I'm willing. I told you guys at the beginning of this challenge that I was willing to lose money for the content. I think it's more fun that way. Do not shadow me. No, do not shadow me. You will get wrecked. Did you not hear the kid from Peru? Dude bought Workhorse when I bought it. I sold it for a big gain. It kept going up a little bit, and he's probably thought to himself, man, stocky sells and it always goes up. I'm going to hold. And then the market dumped and all spec stocks dumped, and he's now bag holding down 50%. So do not shadow trade me. Shadow trade your congressman, okay?